Well, I am very excited to be here tonight with Mark Gardner. Mark, thank you so much. You just played a wonderful, intimate show here at Soho in Santa Barbara. What was it like tonight?
Well, for me, it was good. I mean, this intimate is perfect for the acoustic thing. It's a very nice way to travel because obviously I've been very used to being part of big touring crews and the big tours, which is it's a wonderful thing to work like that as well. But at the same time, you can feel a bit constricted because you can't really just get off the bus and do your own thing. So on tours like this, I drive myself on my own crew, and it's just like a nice little road trip for me, really, with gigs to kind of do as well. And it's nice, I guess. Do you know about like Michael Palin, the old Monty Python guy that does all the travel programs and stuff?
Yes.
So I feel a little bit like him by day, and then like maybe Mark the musician by night, and because it just means I can do my own. I guess the frustration when you're in bands before in buses is that you're realizing that you're passing through and loads of incredible things that you can't see.
Gotcha.
So like this is my chance to stop and go and see and meet people. You know what I mean? Just do it my way a little bit without being Frank Sinatra about it. But it's like,
it's kind of getting a chance to stop and smell the roses and just kind of more of a
like a bit of tourist, it's as well, which because I like to see places. I'm a kind of a restless sort of Sagittarian guy, so I do like to see places as well as venues.
Gotcha.
And like this, I can do that. And because a lot of people sort of think, well, what are you doing? You're sort of packing up your own gear and that. It's like, because that's it. I'm kind of a free bird at the moment doing this, and I like that. I mean, until the next band tour.
Yeah. Fans out there expect Mark Gardner to have an entourage of like handlers and people setting up your stuff. And I did see earlier, despite the really intimate kind of vibe of your show, you still definitely represented the pedals. You definitely. I saw a gentleman, a fan, after your show, coming up and admiring your pedals and wanting to hear more about your gear. So that kind of. I don't know, it's kind of a tip of the hat, so to speak, maybe back to the old kind of shoegaze era. But
yeah, but I mean, we just actually, it's funny enough, we just said it in the dressing room with Thurston and Debbie from Valentine's. Was like, well, actually, a lot of that is because, as Debbie said, we're just looking at our pedals, because it's like, But I mean, I don't know, that was kind of funny that it was a sort of term to sort of slag everybody off, and then it ended up becoming a genre. So I don't know.
I wanted to mention that, Mark, because tonight, I mean, this is just an amazing show tonight. I mean, your set was great. Lou Barlow and Sebado's here. Thurston Moore, of course, the Thurston Moore band, really, with Deb from My Bloody Valentine.
Good friend James from Oxford as well, which is strange. I've got another Oxford sort of companion here. As I said to Thurston, you all need some sort of Oxford connection,
Definitely.
So it's great, and it's the first, it's kind of like the first time I've played a show where I've got Thurston Moore on the front table.
It's amazing. I mean, we were hanging out in the bar, and every time I turned around, I was taking a sip of my beer, and I'm like, there's Deb from My Bloody Valentine, there's Steve Shelley, he just walked by, there's Mark. I'm really excited tonight, man. It's a rare thing, especially in Santa Barbara, to see this much legendary talent in one spot. So I think this is going to be a magical night.
We should do some little stone carvings of it or something to remember it. But for me as well, because you're talking bands, seminal bands for me. I was a Sabado fan. I was totally. I mean, and Steve and especially in the band, we're big Sonic Youth fans, and obviously big Valentine's fans. So it's nice, And then it's completely random, really, that we all end up in Santa Barbara tonight. Whatever the routine is, or should I say routing, I should say, or whatever is that we're here. But I'll go with that. It's nice.
I think it's going to be one of those events for the ages. 10 years from now, and there's no hubris here. I think 10 years from now, 15, 20 years from now, people are going to go, well, remember that crazy time at Soho when all these people showed up? I mean, it's going to be.
It's one of those that be like, and lots of people would have been here, but they weren't here, or but the people that are here were like, we saw that one.
Or they didn't realize who was actually playing tonight. You saw the bill, Thurston Moore. Okay, Thurston Moore, a solo show, not realizing that the Thurston Moore band is just comprised of some amazing folks. And I wanted to ask you. I mean, of course, I'm a big Ride fan, huge Creation Records fan. I love just that era, man, on so many levels. Ride, Lush, and of course My Bloody Valentine. back in the day, I mean, Deb from My Bloody Valentine's here tonight, but back in the day, I mean, you guys toured with MBV back then, right? Or not so much?
No. I mean, let's think. We toured with Lush. We did an American tour with Lush,
okay.
and then also like the Pale Saints and Slowdive. We didn't. I don't think we did tour with My Bloody Valentine. We certainly watched them as a band and loved them. But no, we didn't. No, I don't think we did any tours with them. But
so
yeah,
tonight's your.
Of course, you know, we partied with them because obviously we were Creation label mates, and at that time Creation was in sort of full swing party mode and full swing. It was doing great. You know, it was doing really good at that point. And it's an exciting time to be on it because it could have all fallen apart at any moment, but you know, our record started to do well. The Valentine, I think because Going Blank again did well at a point, it ended up paying for the Valentine's record because they were in the studio too long, something like that.
And then the whole story about the bankruptcy with Creation Records. We won't get into that. The third MBV album.
It all came good though.
20 some years later, we just got it last year, MBV, and it was met with a lot of critical acclaim. Actually,
but I'm not surprised because why would they not be good now? They always were good, you know. So I think anytime those people go into the studio, then it's going to be interesting and good. So.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Mark, because you know, it seems like I'm a college radio DJ, and I meet a lot of young music fans who maybe are getting exposed to kind of what I would consider kind of the classic shoegazing era, and there's been different eras certainly. But your band is one that just Ride, of course, is a band that just so many people that I turn on to that genre adore. And it's interesting because, you know, there was a fairly recent documentary about Creation Records, and just a lot. Yes, exactly.
I did the soundtrack to that.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Well, all the incidental music was all my. Okay. Yeah, so I was quite involved in that. Yeah.
Okay. I totally didn't do my research. I'm not worthy, but that was a great documentary, and it's on Netflix. I think I saw it on Netflix.
It was certainly on Netflix now in England. Yeah, and I ended up supporting the film a bit with Danny O'Connor, the director, and Alan McGee. We did quite a lot of film festivals together. Well, actually, we thought we'd do 2 or 3, and I think we ended up doing like 40 or something. So it was very well received, and it's the kind of thing that I mean, I never even knew about film festivals, but it seems that it was one that they like to sort of close the film festival with before the parties sort of happen, because it kind of put people in the spirit of partying, you know, and that actually great things can be achieved if you're all mad and you party. In the most unlikely scenario, however things did come out of that, but they did, and they're kind of better for it in a way.
Very cool, very cool. Well, Mark, a question that I love asking artists, you know, kind of, and it's somewhat a cliched question. You've probably been asked it a lot, but kind of looking up, you know, when you first decided to become a musician, what were some of the big influences on you? Bands that you used to listen to, you know, records that you used to put on the turntable back in the day when you were growing up that really inspired you?
Well, firstly, I absolutely fell in love with music when I was 6, 7, and you mentioned Devo, so I remember buying singles like Whip It. I had an uncle, a musical uncle, it's my dad's brother, who played me records such as Surf's Up and Holland, and which just blew my mind, those records, which so California and but when I was then a teenager, so that was, you know, I've always loved music, and music sort of always really spoke to me, and I sort of feel as passionate as ever about music. But I guess those teenage years, it was just a dream to me. I didn't think I'd ever do it because I was thinking I was going to be doing art or something. But yeah, certainly one of the bands that really sort of pulled me and Andy together at school, I guess would have been the Smiths, because at that time Andy was maybe a little more geeky at school, but actually it was cool because he was into the Smiths, and I thought I was cool, but I was kind of listening to Africa Bambaataa and a bit more of the kind of, I don't know, that there was that was when it first sort of came through to England, you know, Wild Style and all that stuff. It was good, and but slowly, I mean, my friendship with Andy grew at school, we started. Well, basically, I think the Smiths were one of those bands that we both, I realised, were just brilliant. That really spoke to me. And then, of course, you know, I like at that time at school as well. I liked The Cure. I liked. Well, I kind of discovered the Cocteau Twins quite early as well, which led me on to
I was going to ask about the Cocteaus, This Mortal Coil. I mean, some of the early 4AD stuff, I'd imagine, was a big influence.
Yeah, I mean, that was starting to get, you know, out of school then into sort of when we were doing all at art school together. But for sure, and I remember CDs. I thought CDs were amazing at that time because it's sort of when CDs started to come up. And I remember one of the first 2 CDs I bought, I think, were a Cure album and Blue Bell Knoll or something, the Cocteaus. But yeah,
I'm more embarrassed. Mine isn't as cool. I think my first record that I got was CD. Yeah,
some of my early records were dreadful as well. You know,
I think mine was Quiet Riot, Come On Feel the Noise, or Billy Idol, Rebel Yell. I actually still like that album.
You've all got to have those kind of singles.
Skeletons in our closet.
Yeah, right? I've got plenty of those for sure. So I don't know. I mean, that was you know, and of course, quite soon after art school, it was when we started to play. You know, that's when we met Loz. I mean, me and Andy got into the same art school, so we thought, well, that's it. It's fate. We're definitely. This is all about us being in a band. You know, and we've been playing music together. We knew Steve from school, and then we happened to go to an art school and meet Loz, who's probably, you know, one of the great drummers of the world, and just happened to be in the same year, and we quickly got to know Loz, and before we knew it, we were rehearsing, and that was it. I mean, it was quite. I mean, we were young. I mean, we were 18, 19 when it all started with Ride. So, and of course, Steve at that time, who was the bass player of Ride, he was working in a record store with the guy that also to become our manager, and so he was hands on straight away to the good stuff that was being released, and he was a great feed. So hence he kind of introduced. I think he's probably the first guy that introduced to me, certainly to My Bloody Valentine, and some other great stuff. So it was a kind of great feed, you know, right from, you know, and all that stuff did influence our sort of early stuff.
I think that's kind of a common origin story with a lot of wonderful bands about, you know, working in a record store, having that connection, being exposed, just being like a sponge, absorbing it, and that charting your professional careers. I've heard that from a lot of artists we've interviewed. And Mark,
I think they were driven mad as well by, you know, like everyone going in to buy kind of, you know, Paul Simon's album or something, you know, Graceland, which I think is still a good album.
Phil Collins, right?
Yeah. So I think that you know, those kind of people are always going to look to sort of something that they can feel is more, you know, that they've discovered. You know, like Loop as well was another band that we thought were great, and you know, things just a bit, well, very left of centre that spoke to us more than, you know, what the mainstream always throws at you. You know, I mean, which is always, and that's kind of like now, you know, the mainstream's always sort of hitting you with things, but I still feel that a lot of the production, mixing work I do, any of it, I still feel I exist totally to the left of that, and you know, and that's where for me where still lots of interesting music is.
Very cool.
But
yeah. Well, Mark, it's interesting because I go to a lot of concerts, and I've seen some really epic kind of resurgence of interest in certain genres. You know, Smiths have always been timeless, but other, you know, like right now, last year I went to Coachella, and it was epic because it was the first time Stone Roses had played in like 20 years in the States. Blur was right before them. It was like, you know, this huge lineup, and a lot of bands have reunited at Coachella. I'm kind of curious, you know, if you think there's any potential in the future for a potential Ride reunion, or kind of even you know, the other band that's had a big resurgence recently is Slowdive. I'm actually going to go see them later this month in San Francisco, and their shows are really selling out ever since they've gotten together. You know, MBV has had a lot of success with their more recent album. Any chance that we might be seeing a what you might want to call a classic shoegaze era sort of festival or reunion? Lush, of course, too, is another one that should definitely be in there.
Look, I think as long as we're all still alive, I think there's a chance.
Okay.
There's no plans to. There's nothing's confirmed. We know there's, you know, I'm happy because I'm very proud of what we did, and that I guess, you know, when it finished in '96, you kind of feel, okay, well, then you feel that people will come and make it irrelevant, and actually it seems to have. The complete opposite seems to have happened. So, and you know, so that feels really good. I guess I think there is a chance, but I'm one quarter.
Yeah.
Just speaking, it needs 3 other quarters to kind of totally, commit and say that let's do this.
Well, Mark, if you give me everybody's personal phone numbers,
Give them the-
this is a world premiere. This is like VH1's Bands Reunited, except it's with Jason Reed. I am going to try to get Ride back together, y'all. We're going to start a Kickstarter campaign online. We're going to do this, Mark, brother. I think it can happen, man.
Look, we're good pals. We've been pals, since Ride split. We've been in good contact. So, and we always get together because there's always ongoing sort of sonic business with Ride, and we've tried to put out everything that we've pieced all of it. So I don't know. It's just so difficult because I can't say, from my point of view, from my point of view, I think I would like to do it at some point. Of course, it's exciting, and but like I say, I'm just a quarter of that. It needs. Yeah.
Well, I'm standing right next to him, and I can see the glimmer in his eye. I can see the upturn in his lips. I think there's a spark there, y'all. So again, you heard it here first. Let's make it happen. Thanks again, Mark, for your time, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.